So what we're speaking about isn't special. We're speaking about the end of the difference between ordinary and special. There is no difference. There are no special ones, no special human beings. There are no human beings who have got more than this or more of this than others. The myth for the seeker, the myth for me, was there must be more than this. There must be. This isn't enough. Well, regardless of whether you say this is enough or not, it is all there is. That's the whole of this message, really. There simply isn't any more or less. Just this happening, which includes everything, excludes nothing. This doesn't have to be a certain way to be this. This is always, always. Anyway. This is the end of Hello. That's what he thinks of it. Pop it. Shh. Hold on a sec. Just placating the dog. You may be waiting for this. But you probably call it that. that he has, that she's got, that experience. It really is too simple. If there is waiting for that, whatever you've made into what this could be, that's this too. The waiting for that to happen. And nothing is ever going to happen. There is only what's happening. And even saying there's only what's happening is saying too much. You can't find what's happening because there isn't any separation. There isn't one apart from this apparent happening, this seeming to happen. To see it, what you've called yourself as separate from what's happening is the happening, is the happening too. There isn't any exception to that. So whether the happening is ordinary and mundane and seems familiar, or it's extraordinary and seems, well, this has never happened before, there really is no difference between those two. The illusion is that this has happened before. There is no before. This is always absolutely fresh, completely new, pristine. And sometimes that's obvious. But mostly the illusion of familiarity, which is simply saying that, oh, I know this, I know what's happening. This happened yesterday. Oh, and the day before. This mundane life. But really, life is never mundane. It's always completely new. There's no aging. Life doesn't age. Well, that's quite a short introduction, but I think I'll leave it there. And you're free to share anything about what I've said or ask any question, anything at all. Don't feel that questions are stupid or that questions are, you know, that maybe that's inappropriate. It might be. I'll tell you if it is.
David has his hand up.
Hi, David.
Me again.
Hi. Always lovely to see you.
This is stupid.
Is it inappropriate, David?
No, I'm afraid not, actually. It might be. But I just wonder if you've unwittingly come up with the title of your next blockbuster. Could be a Klondike coming your way.
Interesting that you call it my next blockbuster, implying that I've already had one.
But it's funny, just the way you were speaking there, there was a distinction appeared in my head about the I am this is probably much preferable to I am that. Why don't you bang that out as your next book?
Yeah, it's
Man.
yeah. Well, it's got a certain ring to it, David. I can't deny that.
But I mean, you could clean up, man. You could clean up.
Yeah. Well, I'm guessing if it sold as many as I am that, then I would clean up. Yeah, because I don't know any seekers who haven't bought that.
It would have to be
Yeah, but I am this. I am this is better.
It would have to be I am Cliss, wouldn't it?
Well, that could be part of it. We'd leave that to the design team to kind of weave that in. Anyway, 10% off the top for me, please.
Okay.
I'm only half joking, though, but I like it a lot. There is a distinction there, you know.
I kind of do, but I mean, it's pissing off all the Nisargadatta fans, though, isn't it?
Anyway, well, that was it. I told you it's stupid. I like I am this. I really do. I see the distinction. I mean, it's funny, everybody responds to I am that in a different way, to be honest. I've never really got my head around it. It rolls off the tongue and we're so used to it. But when you really interrogate it, you know, what is going on there? Well, you don't know, of course. No. I am this seems a lot more direct.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is what that's pretty much what I just said, yeah.
It is. Yep. Okay. And all power to you. Thank you, Tim. That's
thanks, David. I'll bear it in mind, and if I do rest on that as the title for my next blockbuster, as you've said, then
this has been recorded.
You will receive some gift. I'm not going to say exactly what it would be.
Dear. Right. Okay, thank you.
Well, you'd certainly get a mention. There you go. I'll give you a mention.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks.
Hey-ho. Right, thank you. But I'm only half joking.
I know you're only half joking. Yeah, I am this is pretty accurate. I don't think I would ever have a book title with I am in the title. I probably would just have I am not, probably.
I thought you might do that.
Yeah, that would be the trouble I'd have with I am in the title would be that it's got I am in the title.
Yeah,
I could just
Tony.
I could just put not. Suppose.
Tony's thing about there's no I to be am, you know, he just dismisses it completely. But there's a good point there, you know. There's no I to be am.
Yeah, that's
not entirely what that whole Nisargadatta thing. You have to remember it's translated. It's, you know.
Yeah, of course.
And talk about lost in translation, and it means many different things to many different people. I've heard so many takes on it, you know.
I have as well, yeah.
But it was good for business, and that's all I'm suggesting.
Thanks, business manager. Yeah, good. Thanks. It's nice. Apart from the I am bit. Yeah. That's not far off to say there is only am. You know, there's being, but no I. The I is illusory. Being isn't. Being is ineffable. Being you can't. Being is what we're speaking about. And interestingly, Tony spoke all the time about being. In these early days, you could say. You look at his first books and they're all about being.
Again, sorry, I'm going to pass on because it's getting too serious now, actually. But
we don't want that now.
No, definitely not. But the I am that. I mean, I think there's a difference between what you've just said and that is what the I am is. Are you with me?
Now we're getting serious.
There is a difference. That is what the I am is, not I am that. But as I say, we'll call it a day. Or just disappear completely on my own Jaxie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, David. Lovely.
Okay, thank you.
Iwan, is that Iwan or Iwan has his hand up?
Hi, it's Iwan.
Iwan.
Hi, Ewan.
Hi, thanks Tim for doing this. It's great. I want to take you to your own life a little bit and ask you, if you're in front of a classroom now, what would you say? How would you?
Oh, shit. That's the reason I'm not, Ewan. Yeah, I couldn't. There's no way.
Mm.
No, because when you're in front of a class, it's quite rigid what you can say and what you can't say.
Yeah.
You've got to, I mean, just speaking, even hinting at the illusory nature of self is taboo, Ewan. It really is.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's taboo even speaking to adults about it. Most adults would find it, you know, offensive, truly offensive. And if you were to speak to children and try and teach them that, you know, that self that they've been told that they have is actually illusory, I can't imagine the complaints. You'd be struck off immediately.
But do you think there's also, I don't know, like using this word, the moral, but is there a good reason not to share this with kids because they're still trying to be somebody, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, I won't be speaking to my kids about it. Not young kids.
Yeah.
Because it's hard enough, you know, for I taught teenagers, and it's hard enough being a teenager. It's all about identity. You know, the number of identity crises, you know, just you don't go through one as a teenager. You know, who am I? Where do I fit in? And that neediness of self to be accepted. You know, who am I really? I mean, I think all of us can remember the anxiety, how much anxiety there is in those teenage years about trying to find my place in the world. And no, I think it wouldn't be unethical necessarily, but I wouldn't do that. It's tough enough for teenagers without non-duality. There you go.
Wouldn't it be a great relief for them to hear, hey, you don't exist, doesn't matter?
Do you know, it will be the same as it would be for adults.
Yeah.
I feel that the majority of adults can't hear this message. It just literally passes straight by. It's just, you know, even just the simple suggestion that I might not be me is just taken as nonsense by most selves. And so it's treated with, it's not even treated with contempt. It's simply not heard at all.
Mm.
And then there's the few who hear some part of the human being hears it and goes, oh, well, that might be true. And then me reacts very self-defensively against that. And so there's an angry reaction. Anger is quite common.
Yeah.
And then there's a tiny number for whom it's obviously true.
Yeah.
Now, don't ask me how or who or why. There's no knowing any of that. But here you are sitting listening to this because there's something that there's some part of the human being that knows, oh yeah, it's very obviously, it's irresistible.
You don't think that there's a tipping point for maybe all children, you know, where this window opens? It's like my daughter came to me crying her eyes out yesterday saying, I don't know what's real anymore.
All right.
And I remember at the same age, about 8 or 9, the who am I came very, very like
right,
overpowering, you know.
Yeah.
I just wonder if there's a moment in childhood development that there's a window open?
I really don't know. Well, you could say that what happens throughout childhood is the window just gets smaller and smaller, so it closes. That's the energy of being me is the closing of the window. The window is wide open for a 2-year-old child. You know, the window is just wide, and then the contraction of feeling more and more narrow. You know, that's kind of the story of most children's lives, I would guess.
So,
but of course, the illusion is that the window closes.
Yeah.
It's always wide open. This is always wide, completely. It's wider than wide because it doesn't have. It's not really wide because it doesn't have an edge to it. It's no boundary. It's edgeless. So wide is a misnomer as well.
Yeah, it just came to my mind, this metaphor. Whenever I visited my grandmother and there was something a bit saucy on the TV, she'd get up and start dusting the TV. I mean, this was when they were big boxes. To hide the screen. It feels like that's what we're doing.
Yeah. But I think so. Yeah, if an 8-year-old came to me and said, I'm really not sure what's real anymore. I don't know what's real. I just think the best thing you could ever say would be, no one really knows. And there, you know, there's great compassion in that. Oh no, that's fine. It's absolutely fine. There's no one who knows. Everyone who tells you they know,
yeah,
you can just.
It was related to the.
Just smile. You can smile at them and go, "That's interesting that you think you know reality."
It was relating to the Easter Bunny.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, but the grief was real. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, if this becomes real, you could say that, okay, this whole life of mine has been a complete delusion. There will be grief. How would there not be? How hard have you tried to make your life work, to make it a success, to be okay with yourself? It's the amount of effort, the amount of suffering, you know, the pain of it, you know, the constant disappointment with yourself, self-disappointed with self. And then it's all for nothing. There was immense grief here, Iwan, when that was, and the grief didn't, you could say, is the grief is still here. It's still present because, you know, Tim did try, and all his story was just, it was just that. There is no Tim's life. There was no Tim's life. It was, if it becomes, or it is, rather than it becomes, if it is undeniable that that's the case, then there inevitably will be grief. And the grief is for myself, that illusion, but it's also for everyone else. You know, it's a grief for the human condition, for everyone, for every human being that has suffered at the hands of themselves.
Can that sense of the grief of humanity be a impetus?
Yeah, in the story it could, yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, there's still motivation here to speak about this, so, you know, I can only say yes, can't I? Because it would be ridiculous for me to say otherwise.
So there's work to do.
I tell you what, when it feels like work, it's time to pack up. No, this isn't a job.
Oh, I'm kidding.
No.
Yeah.
No, there isn't. The wonderful, I mean, yeah, the wonder is that there isn't work to do. I mean, that's incredible. That's worth telling people. Do you know there is no work to do? This is complete and whole. And what you've called yourself is fully included in that. There's no separation. The wholeness is absolute. Absolute wholeness, absolute completion. Yeah. So there's no more work to be done. I mean, how wonderful that it's not that you stop working on yourself. It really is that it's an impossibility. There's nothing to work on. What would I work on?
Yeah. And the it just comes to mind, work will set you free, is what's on the gates of Auschwitz.
Yeah. Bastards. Yeah. Do you know, the thing, there's something about work. I always hated work. Right from an early age. I used to help my dad he had a small holding, so he would rent some land just to earn a little bit more money. And I would have to go and when there was labor intensive, harvest time particularly, and I would be employed from about the age of 7 when there were onions or potatoes or whatever he was growing to be picked. Oh, I just remember the torture. It felt excruciating, the pain of having to go and do like 6 or 8 hours manual labor as a child. And being a gobby child who was quite aware of rights, I said he's I'd tell my dad, this is child exploitation. This, that you shouldn't make your children do this kind of work. It's completely inappropriate. But from an early age, that there is this, I think it's a very Protestant work ethic. It's a very British thing, but I think it exists in most societies, that work is good. And actually in a lot of spiritual work, texts speak about the nobility of work, of hard work, of labor. Well, I have a feeling that they've got it all wrong. I really do. The nobility of labor is for me to feel proud, is pride, pride in my work. That's all it's about. It's the biggest crock of shit. Really is. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with work. I'm saying sitting in a chair, drinking coffee and looking out the window is much nicer. That's all. One isn't more noble than the other. There we go. That's the problem. And idleness, the devil makes, there's so many, I get all these cliches come up, the devil makes work for idle hands. Yeah, well, if they don't work, make those kids work. Because if they don't, Satan will have them, won't they? They'll be, who knows, they'll be playing with themselves and doing all sorts of dreadful stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I went into teaching mindfulness to try and make money out of doing nothing.
Yeah. Well, there was a time that I did have a mindfulness qualification.
Yeah.
I guess it's out of date now. But yeah, it's funny that mindfulness can make work out of sitting on your ass and looking out of the window, isn't it, really? But there you go. Yeah. Make that work as well. Yeah, because that's how I see all those practices. Okay, I'll make work out of something that is really not work at all. Doing nothing.
Yeah. And it's in the way I teach it, sometimes they talk about it as an act of defiance.
What
They're doing
what
nothing.
the laziness.
Well, not lazy, just stopping, doing nothing.
Yeah.
Because it's like this hand on our back all the time, pushing us, society.
Yeah. But of course, that if it's an act of defiance, that's me. There is no defiance. This is the end of the. We're speaking about the one who could defy, or what's the word I'm looking for, or agree with and go along with. There is neither. All of that is redundant. But the beautiful thing, Iwan, is that there isn't anything that's better or worse than others. There's just preferable, And who doesn't prefer to sit and relax and socialize or be on their own and just be in nature or do things that you really enjoy doing, rather than work? And of course, we've made work an ethically good thing. It's a good thing. Is it shit? It's a terrible lie. And boy, I mean, we really hammer that with children, work ethic, as it's noble, it's nobility, it's righteousness. And you don't have to be Christian or religious to see lethargy and laziness as a sin, as essentially negative, a bad thing. Well, of course, it's not a bad thing. It's not good either. It's new. Everything is neutral.
Yeah, work is just like my mother dusting the TV.
Yeah. Thanks, Iwan. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
You're welcome.
David has his hand up.
David. Hi, David.
Hi, Tim. How are you?
Hi there. Yeah, good. Nice to see you.
Yeah. So would you say that within the story there seems to be a movement, like when a child is born, there's not really anybody there, and sort of through childhood it seems to be pretty much universal that we all become apparently a person.
Yeah.
And so in a way you could say that you have to be someone before you can be no one.
Yeah, because there isn't no one without someone, is there? So the story, the story of awakening, enlightenment is just, again, there's none of that. They're all just stories, because the only way there is no one is because there was someone first. Yeah. Neither's true. There is neither no one nor someone. Because of course no one requires there to avoid someone to then become no one.
Yeah.
There is no becoming. This is much more radical than that, that there never was someone, so of course there is no one to become no one.
Yeah. I mean, that's something I tried. It was something you said last week that it kind of hit home that there is no becoming.
No becoming.
Just this.
Yeah, this doesn't become.
And the notion that me saying, there must be something else. The notion that me could recognise this is totally false, isn't it?
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's the other bummer for when you're looking for this, is that you're waiting until I recognize it. That's all I can do. I can only imagine that I'll know when I recognize this.
Yeah.
Well, Well, you won't. There's nothing to recognize.
No. And I mean, even the notion of awakening is, I mean, I kind of look upon it that there's no awakening because there's only awakeness.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no awakening.
Yeah.
Awakening needs someone to
There's
wake
no,
up.
sorry?
Awakening is very, I mean, you can call it awakening. It doesn't really matter about the language. The word awakening certainly implies that there will be an awakening to a new world.
Yeah, it implies an event.
Yes. And someone to awaken, of course.
Yes, yeah, there's no one to awaken.
You could just say awakeness, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when you're in deep sleep, you could say sleepness if you wanted.
Yeah. I mean, this is just a story, but talking about the child, the development of the child. I've got a very vivid memory of when I was about maybe 8 years old in school assembly, and the headmaster was telling us all about was a boy from another school who'd been knocked down in a road traffic accident, and I mean the whole point of it was to tell us, to educate us on road safety. Right. But this boy had been knocked down, was in a coma, and he explained what a coma was, because for us 8-year-olds, a coma was a new concept.
Yeah.
And I distinctly remember the thought that I had about that was, well, how do I know I'm not in a coma dreaming this? And maybe one day I will wake up.
Yeah, I think that's very common, David, much more than you'd know.
Yeah. Well, I suppose I've never really shared it with people, so
no, I think that's really quite common with children.
Right. Hmm.
You know, especially if if there's dissatisfaction with their life, then you can fantasize that I'll wake up one day and my family's is pretty certain this can't be my real family.
Yes,
this can't be my real life.
Yeah.
I'll wake up and then I'll be in my life that I deserve.
Yeah. And the other thing I had was that this again was at a fairly young age, at the age where you still believe that your parents are the fount of all wisdom.
Yeah.
And I for a long time I had the expectation that one day they would sit me down and say, everything you've heard up to now has been false. This is how it really is. There was a feeling that there was a secret that I wasn't privy to.
Yeah. That's so common with not just with children, but with most adults as well, that there is a secret.
Yeah.
One day someone will let me in on it.
Yeah. I mean, I know him certainly in one of the glimpses that I had. I could see why Tony called it the open secret, because hiding in plain sight.
Yes.
See,
it's not a secret.
No.
The secret is that there is no secret.
Yeah. And the other thing I just wanted to comment on, I was listening to you on Nothing FM, Nothing Media yesterday.
Yeah.
And when you were talking about the Big Bang.
Oh, was I? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I have to agree with you that as stories go, the Big Bang is probably the best one we have.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, the way I've kind of looked at it is that, there are all these creation myths. So all cultures seem to have a creation myth.
Yeah.
And the Big Bang is the creation myth of the scientific age.
Yeah. It is indeed, yeah. I completely agree.
Yeah.
It's just trying to make sense, because
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And the beauty of this message is there is no need to know about something that never happened, because there is no past. This is the end of interest in, you know, in yesterday and 6 billion years ago.
Yeah, it's still fascinating stuff, though.
Well, I mean, you might still be fascinated, but I have to say, my fascination with it really did, you could say, died along with me.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they're just, you know, it's like you say, just another creation myth. Yeah.
Sure, yeah, yeah. So I'm looking forward to the retreat next month. I have my ticket.
Oh, thanks, David. That's great.
Yeah.
Good plug, David. I might have to give you a reduction now. You've done that.
Just going back to book titles. Yeah, I completely agree with you about leaving the I am out.
Right.
So there's there is being, or you could, but there's no I that's amming.
No. That's it.
Because, I mean, in certain areas of non-duality, some people who speak about non-duality make a big thing about I am.
Yeah. Generally, yeah.
And when I heard that pointer, I always felt it was way too concrete.
Yeah, probably is.
There was no I that was being or
No.
there's a sense of being, you could say.
Well, the thing is, you don't being can't sense being. It's already being. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
You know.
True. Yeah.
In order to sense it, you're once removed straight away. The sense,
Sure.
the sense of it is it. The sense of it is it.
Right. Yeah.
Thanks, David. Thanks.
There's no one that has the sense.
No.
No. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks. And thanks for the plug, David. Much appreciated.
Eligio has his hand up.
Eligio. Hi.
Hello, Tim. Hey,
Hi.
Tim, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. How are you?
I've been okay. So are you there, Tim? Are you there right now?
Yeah.
You are there. Okay.
Well, are you speaking to me?
Yes, Tim. Tim, the person, the thing that you call the you. Are you there right now? Or
Well, I'm not here, but yeah, the human being called Tim's here speaking by the looks of things.
So when you start speaking, does Tim come back?
No, Tim never was. The thing is,
Right.
there's no coming back, Eligio, you know.
Right.
You do hear that a lot, you know, this flip-flopping, you know, there was no me and then me came back. Well, you know, that's
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
That is
What
common.
what you're saying is that you were never there already. Is what you're trying to tell me.
There is no death of me, no.
Right. So what I'm asking, I guess, is does a parent of me come back when I try to speak or ask questions to you?
No, not at all.
I feel like I know
on.
what this is until I start talking. And then I start talking and then I forget, or it appears. And then I remember, and then it disappears. The thing you call me is the way it kind of feels for me right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does make sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think in the speaking, particularly in this is, you know, there's in this appearance here that is quite public, you know, you've got a lot of other selves in the story. There's a lot of others who are listening to you. So what speaking for a lot of human beings does is amplify the sense of self-consciousness. It's heightened. There's a heightened sense of me-ness when I'm speaking, because now I've got other me's, others are looking at me and they're judging me, and so self becomes like
energy. And then like right now, what's his name? Darren's drinking, and then I'm okay. Darren's drinking, and then okay, why is he not listening to me? And then that energy is like, what the fuck is wrong with Darren?
Yeah, exactly.
What is wrong with Darren?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Now he's falling asleep. Now he's
snoring.
Now he's really pissing me off.
Am I boring him? Yeah. Is he?
Yeah, he fell asleep. Look,
Or
he's
maybe,
falling asleep on us.
Is he falling asleep, or is he just angry? You pissed him off.
I think we need to tap dance and keep him entertained. But yeah, that's the thing, right? The amplification.
Yeah, that makes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's perfectly. I think that's quite typical of most sense of selves. You know, most me's feel there's anxiety in public speaking, and this is public speaking to an extent. It's not like speaking. Do you know when most people, when they do these surveys of people's greatest fear, public speaking?
I know the number one
is nearly always number one. Before
death, which is ridiculous.
Exactly, because self is so self-conscious, so worried about making a fool. The thing that self fears probably more than death is humiliation.
Yeah. So the answer to that is just humiliate yourself over and over.
Well, you could use that as a practice, and
that's what I'm trying to do. How am I doing? How am I doing?
Eligio, you've done quite well so far, but I want you to go out now and run naked down the street.
Oh, right now?
No,
right now? Later. Okay.
I really shouldn't have said that to you.
You don't know who you're talking to, man. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, thank you, Tim.
No, thanks, Eligio. It's really good. No, it's a really good point about self-consciousness, which, you know, self-consciousness is this illusion, you know, the illusion that there is a self who is conscious of itself. So self takes itself out of itself and then looks back at itself as though it's an audience to itself. I mean, it's so elaborate. The illusion is very elaborate. And yet life as it is just incredibly simple. There is no one looking out of the eyes. There's no one inside. There's no one who could then take themselves out of themselves and look back at themselves and observe themselves.
Tim, there's also a serious side to this. Like, people are questioning me about my sanity. The people closest to me are questioning my sanity. And I stopped talking to people about it because of it.
Yeah.
But yesterday I had to have a talk with my fiance about it. Because she was really concerned about it. I'm like, no, it's like, it's not like that. It's not the fucking Matrix. I don't believe in the fucking Matrix. The fucking Matrix is a fucking movie. And I had to walk her through that and to kind of help her understand and not be afraid that I'm losing my grip of reality. Well, that's what she thinks.
Yeah, there is. I mean, you can get yourself into some shit talking about this just randomly with everyone. If I was going to give you some advice, okay, I'll give you some advice. Only speak to this about when you, if anyone asks you, fine. If they ask you, then you can speak about this, but try and keep it tame. Keep it simple.
Yeah, and I keep it light, and I keep it about cartoons, and I keep it about Matrix. Only yesterday, because my fiance was really concerned about what I was saying, and I'm like, no, it's like not. And I had to kind of be serious about it, be an adult about it, and explain to her what it really is.
Yeah,
just to calm her down, but she's not a person either, so whatever.
Oh.
I'll leave it. Yeah. Thank you, Tim.
No, you're welcome. Thanks, Alicia. Yeah, that's good what you said about speaking, because it does elicit fear in most selves. It is funny how something as simple as and as common as speaking about self-consciousness, we most human beings speak to each other about it as though it's a very simple thing, and yet if you think about how elaborate the illusion of that is and how convoluted it is. So there's me, and then I can take, what is it, another me outside, so I'm inside, and I can take that me or another me outside and then be aware of myself, as though, so I'm watching myself, I'm hearing myself.
David has his hand up.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think the problem occurs, there's a lot of sympathy with what's being said about how you can speak to other people about this thing, And the problem is, I think, when it's ring-fenced as a topic, non-duality, it sounds so dramatic and, whatever, pseudo-philosophical.
Mm-hmm.
The fact is, and most people, of my generation anyway, and my son even, they do connect with art. And an awful lot of artists deal with this. An awful lot of art is, questioning what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
And it's, maybe not consistently in this intense way that we're doing.
No.
Dylan's dealt with it all his life, brilliantly, actually. And he's openly said, look, kind of fuck philosophy and religion. It's in the music. And it is, actually. You can talk about that and people feel, it sounds very patronizing, and I know it's in the story, but people can feel quite comfortable with that. And an awful lot of, and poetry goes without saying.
Yeah.
And it's, it's not non-duality,
No.
writ large kind of thing. And that would be a way into it, I think. And it is for me. I mean, I've occasionally given lectures about such things, but it's couched in that broader kind of culture. And you can get away with a lot.
Yeah, and if you've never heard of non-duality, or that you've never heard it spoken in this way or approached in this way, then I think you're dead right. Then
it can be non-duality light in a way, I suppose. Rather than
right.
The full-on.
I mean, there is. I have to say here there is now a kind of, oh fuck it anyway, give them it all.
Yes.
There is that though, unfortunately.
Yes.
So non-duality light, it's a bit like, what do you want on a fresh white loaf, a crust, and you get it and it's hot from the oven and you cut it? Do you want do you want light butter, or do you want the full fat version? which is more delicious?
I know, yeah, sure. But so, maybe take Shakespeare, for example,
Oh, you love a bit of Shakespeare.
Well, I mean, was he not as close as you get with these things?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
And you've got to dig a bit, but once you get to, there's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's full on. That's the full butter.
That is the full fat version. There, right? Yeah, because I think I said something similar just the other day, but I just said, "But me makes it so." Yeah, I make it so. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But
because of course with that, because there is a lot of stuff in New Age and spirituality that makes thought the problem. Thinking's the enemy. Thinking's the problem. Thinking is not a problem at all.
Well, how about a tale told by an idiot, sound and fury signifying nothing? That's even closer, surely, isn't it?
That's probably clotted cream with the butter, on the top as well, like a nice Devon scone.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm stating the obvious. But this business of its wider presence, which is what you would expect anyway.
Yeah,
I mean, it is everywhere, one way or another.
Yeah. Yeah. Lovely. Thanks, David.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, everywhere is right. There's no escape. I'm going to say a little bit about non-duality. There is no non-duality. Non-duality is simply, it's an ugly term. I've never liked it. I mean, I went to non-duality speakers for years, never liked the term non-duality. It sounds too heavy for what we're speaking of, which is as light as a feather. You know, we're talking of complete lightness, and then we've got this term for what we're speaking of, which sounds like lead. I've always disliked it. And of course, there is no non-duality. Non-duality only exists in relation to duality, which it's saying is not. But it isn't replaced by a non-duality. There's just not knowing any difference between duality and non-duality. That's much more what I want to say. And yet I still call these meetings non-duality meetings, because it's just the accepted terminology. But the problem with naming anything, you know, we're naming this as though there's non-duality to get in opposition to duality. That's not what's being said. Simply not knowing. There is no difference between duality and non-duality. There is neither. This is all. Whether it's seen as duality, or it's seen as one, or it's seen as nothing. Emptiness and fullness, they're just simply not two. Not two would be a better term. I like not two. Non-duality just sounds heavy. Not two is, maybe I'll change it and just say that.
David just reminded me, doing all those Shakespeare quotes, I was watching a film the other night called Synecdoche, New York, with Philip Seymour Hoffman. And there's a quote in that from Richard II that says, "I nor any man with nothing shall be pleased till he be eased with being nothing."
Ooh. Well, I like that because I've not heard that before.
It's a nice one, isn't it?
That is a screamer. I've heard that. It's an absolute beaut.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it when I heard that. I was polarized.
Yeah.
Bloody Shakespeare. Clever bugger, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He was Scottish, of course.
Oh, he was the most English Scotsman.
I think he was Mexican.
Imagine Shakespeare being a Mexican. Now there, we could do a nice parody on that. Shakespeare in a sombrero. I can see it now. It's like a cross between Romeo and Juliet and Dusk Till Dawn. That's what I'm visualizing in some Mexican nightclub. Well, has anyone got anything they'd really like to share before we finish? If not, thanks for David for already plugging the summer weekend retreat, July 24th and 25th. A banquet where for gluttons of not two-ness, where so I'm going to have 3 meetings each day on Saturday and Sunday. So it's a weekend. I didn't want to call it retreat, but everyone else calls them retreats. I think you've got to physically go somewhere to call it a retreat. However, that's what it's called anyway. Yeah, go to the website if you're at all interested. Have a look at the details, and be great if any of you came. So thanks very much for lovely meeting. I really enjoyed that. I'll probably enjoy this too much, hence I'll keep doing it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. yeah, pleasure to see you all. Take care. And next meeting. Oh, no, I've got something else to plug just quickly. There is a meeting on Monday with Luciana and her Bulgarian friends with a Bulgarian translation. And it has a very different feel to it because I have to say half a sentence and pause, and then there's all that space. There's much more space in the meeting. So I don't know, if you haven't been before, you might like it. That's on Monday at 5 p.m. And then I'll send in invitations. I have sent everyone who's on the invitation list the invite for the weekend as well. Thanks very much. Thanks to Darren again for being great.
Thanks, Tim.
Take care.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Darren.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you,
Thanks,
Darren.
Darren.
Everybody. Bye.
Bye.
I don't know why. I just didn't. I thought I clicked on end the meeting and I hadn't ended the meeting. That's quite funny. And I'm like, what's going on there then? Who's doing it? Who's doing it? Cheers, Tom. Bye, Bernard. Bye, Annika.
Bye.
Bye, Julie.